Oh, nonsense. If from the beginning you are not getting any audio. Check.
సార్ నా ఫస్ట్ నుంచి రావట్లేదు.
దేవుడా. దాదాపు 20 minutes. 50 minutes.
నేనేమనుకున్నానంటే కాల్ వచ్చింది, కాల్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారేమో అని అనుకున్నాను.
అబ్బే నా ఏం లేదు. నేను మామూలుగా నేను ఫోనే పక్కన పెట్టేసి. Right. So when it go for the initialization, if you get any system exception, then it will go to the end process. If you get an a, like now, if anything, if everything goes wrong, then go for the go and call the get transaction detail, like no data state. So in the get transaction data state, what will happen? If there is no data, then it will go to the end process. If there is a data, then it is process transaction. So in the get transaction data, so it will take the value from the key, like no item by item, and when it goes to the process transaction, in the process transaction will have 3 states. So one is success, another one is business application, and another one is system exception. So if it is a success, then so we in the process transaction success. So if you did not get any exception, then it will go to the success. Then inside it, it will call a set transaction status. We have seen that, correct? And if you get a business exception, this will also call set transaction status, but the set transaction status application status as business and provide the reason for the exception. Then it will go to the, if it is success or a business exception happen, these 2 cases, it will go and fetch the next item from the get a transaction data. It will call back the get transaction data. So at the same time, if we get a system exception, then we are like no, so it will go and initialize a, it will call it, see if it is a system exception, so where it was highlighted, it will go and call the initialization state. When it get a business exception, it will call the get transaction data. If it is get a success, then it will call the get transaction data. So in this, the process transaction, so try the process. In the process transaction, whenever it is, if you get any exception in the process, whenever it is entering the data into this, so we have defined it. So if you get any exception, then it will go for the invoke set transaction status. If it is a success, there is no error, then it will what it does, Just read this. So then you will able to understand, then you will able to clear in interviews, able to explain in interviews. What is the business rule exception? If it is a success, what are the possible statuses? Don't go. There can be three possible status: success, business exception, and system exception. So business rule exception, what it does. So if orchestrator queues are the source of transaction, just go through this. Successful true means false, and again it will check if it is a business exception or it is a system exception. If it is a business exception, like to make sure that follows the application as business exception, and if it is not, so if it is a system exception, so there will be a queue retry based on the transaction item. So how the retry can be used? So there is an activity called a retry scope. In the retry scope, number of retries, how many times you would like to retry. So in the queue retry, we have used the 3, right? Retry interval. So when it has to retry, so it is a time span. That means like no, what is the time span we have to use? How many seconds? Every 5 seconds. So 0, 0, 0, 0. Sorry. So if I give this one, like, so every 5 seconds, it will start. Hello? Dhanalakshmi. Yes, ma, I gave permission. So retry can be happened in every 5 seconds up to 3 times. And we'll put a condition over here. What is the condition? So when the retry should happen? When you get a system exception. The same can be applied over here. So it is for a retry. I will. So this is for taking the screenshot, and then if the transaction is a queue item, this is a queue retry, and then set the transaction status, and then retry number is incrementing to this auto retry number. There is a property called transaction item dot retry number. So for the transaction item, retry should happen. So in the queue defined retry auto retry is 3. So first time it is retry number is 1, second time like no 2, third time it is 3. So like that you will get it. So this is auto retry. And then it will set all the transaction log fields. Then so invoke retry current transaction. So in this, so it will happen. So do you want to retry the transaction number? So this retry, sorry, this retry transaction is very important in terms of where is our project. This is our project. Under data, so there is a config file. In the config file, so the maximum retry number. Whenever you want to retry, అవసరం లేదులే నేను తెచ్చుకుంటా నీ పని నువ్వు చూసుకో. So in config of maximum retry number. So when we will use this, the max retry number. So the max retry number is 0. So if we are, must be 0 if we are working with orchestrator queue. So that means that, see, we are using orchestrator queue only. So that is the reason. So the maximum retry number in the config file set as 0. So you will get a lot of interview questions in this area only. So if the maximum retry number is 0 in config file, that means that we are using a orchestrator queue. If the maximum retry number is, for example, if I keep value 3. So this means that, so we are not using queue. Okay, so what will happen if the maximum retry number, the value is set as 3, and if you are using a queue? So you have to careful about here. So first the control comes to over here. What is this? So what is the maximum retry number? If it is greater than 0, so it will come over here. True, right? It will come over here. And what is the retry number? So the IO retry number is greater than or equal to max retry number. So that means, so how many times that the transaction values have been the IO retry number, no, just go to the arguments and see here IO retry number. So this IO retry number, where it is set, it is set in the transaction item dot retry number. So how many times? 1 time or 2 times or 3 times. Okay, so then come to the retry current transaction. If no means, so if it is yes, that means the maximum number has been reached is, then retry number set be set as 0. If no, then it will come over here. So it will first, it will give a priority to the IO retry number, and it will go for a, so in Q retry. So that is, see, it is a Boolean. So the Q retry, if you are using a Q retry, the value should be false. If you are not using a Q retry, so the value is false. Then it will come to the Q retry. So here Q retry is a Boolean value. So if it is yes, the transaction number should be incremented to 1 to fetch the next item from the queue. Then if it is not, then our retry number will be incremented to 1. Then it will go and take the data from the this you have to understand very clearly that what it does. So maximum retry number, if anybody asks that if the maximum retry number set as you have to tell that you must set the maximum retry number in the config file is 0 whenever you are working orchestrator queue, or if you are not using orchestrator queue, you have to set the value is either, see, it depends, either 2 or 3 or 1. Then only it will work properly. Otherwise, it will not work. Application exception. So in the application exception, whatever it is there, the retry value. So it will retry the. So system.exception.message and system exception.source. What is the source of that and what is the message? Okay, once it is done. So conversion and then retry up. So this IO consecutive system exceptions, because here we have, see, this is one of the new field, maximum consecutive system exceptions equal to 0. And then the number of consecutive system exceptions allowed, if maximum system exceptions is reached, the job is stopped. To disable the feature, set the value to. So for example, you are whenever you are working on some application might not able to reload it. So some applications might take lot of so for example, if the server is down. So how many times you tried it, there is no use. So then in that case, you can set the value as 0. So the job will stop. Come down. So and then find in the set transaction status. Finally, they call. So after done each and everything, they call the closing of all applications. What are the applications? Close applications. So invoke. What is this? Kill process. And then finally they are calling. So finally, what is this? Closing, yes, if you are unable to close all applications. Invoke close all applications. In this close all applications, what will happen? It will call all the application, closing of all the applications. Like if you are using Excel. Okay. So what do we do? Excel file, killing of closing Excel file. Only current user or only current session. So this is also one of the very important. So for all the sessions, you want to kill this process only for current session. We want to kill it. So like no, for current session only, it will kill it. So when a user has been logged into that mission, so for each and everybody, you will learn to like no do that. For closing is this one. So we can set it only for a current user or for anybody. By default, it is anybody. How to close the application? So usually we will use close tab, right? If it is only like no one page in your application, or if it is close window. So hello. మా ఇంట్లోనే ఉంటారు. గురువారం పొద్దున్న వస్తాం. నాకేం లేదు, వచ్చినాక ఉంది. ఓకే. మీ అన్నయ్య మళ్ళీ మాట్లాడదాం 10 minutes. So where is that? UiPath training CRM, right? So Anytel. So manage so closing of this application. So wait for ready will be, see, it is an interactive by default. So previous versions we do not have this. So now it made it as a default session, like interactive mode. So whenever the page is available, that means window or page is available. So wait for ready. So we talked about this. Wait for ready. Okay. So now we'll see the process where and all the data is being placed. Accept. Oh. Log level dot warning. So in the message, could not retrieve transaction item. So here exception dot message. ముందు అయిన చదివి so new transaction. So we will run and see that. So here we will connect it to training. This one. Go and check. Just go to queues and see that what is the queues are available. So this is the queue we మా అమ్మ తెలుసుకునేసరికి నీకు హ్యాపీగా ఉందా? So init all applications. Okay, open application. So load the data into the queue, right? Where it is. So why you are using this one then? So we need to load the data into the queue now. So under init all applications, this name is wrong. Loading the application. Before it. So what and all we defined here? Initialization. Main process. So here we are defining Excel application scope and then input path. So workbook. So if you want to close it, so bulk add Q items. So everything we define. So the only left is we need to run it. Let me run. Save it. See, usually this input, there is like one more thing. So we have a data, right? Under the data, we have folders, input, output. Okay. So input is for the input file. Output is for output file. So it depends on the client. So some of the client will ask you that, please input file can be put in the input folder, output folder, output file can be placed under output folder. As a best practice, so there will be a shared folder. Okay. So in that shared folder only, we will keep all the input files as well as output files. You never keep in the input folder or output folder. So that's what I'm telling. So it depends on your client. So how secure your data is. It's all depends. So if it is a secure enough, then you will able to. If it is not secure, then you don't need to. Okay. So anyway, this information will tell you. You will get to know that at the time of use case explanation. So where do you keep it? Or even your team lead or your architect will tell you that where do you keep all the input files. So based on that only you have to do. Okay. Now we will run it. So if it is a string, how do you check that whether string is empty or not? So the condition is string dot empty or null or white space. So before that, see, if you take any condition over here, it will be like that. That is how. So that is also one of the interview question, like how do you check that whether string is empty or not? So how do you apply if it is not? So you have to put not is a keyword. How to use it? And also or so there are a lot of things you have to go each and everything or each and every activity and see that. So how they are defining that and all you have to explain in interview or whenever you are working on real time as well. So you will able to define all these things. That is called it's a RE framework. So RE framework, it's a template. So there auto retry option will be there. By default, it will take it from the queue and it will process. Retain the sheet CRM. Oh, input files, CRM data. What happened? Oh, sheet 1. Sheet is CRM. So whenever you get an exception, just go over here and see that in the CRM data, go to project, under data, we have a config, right? Under settings. Sheet name is CRM, but sheet 1 is the name of the sheet. Then save it, stop, close it. So it was task manager. What I'm trying to do that. Sorry. Where do you have the Excel? Now run it. నవీన్ చెప్పు నవీన్ బాగున్నాను నవీన్ మీరు So sorry guys. So open application. What is this? Open Explorer. No window found for any tenant. Usually. Oh. Oh. Open application. So this is the file name where we have to provide the file name. right click and copy as path. Argument selector was not supplied. Options, path of the current working directory, this will accept only string variable. Directory name is in my see how it is doing. So it is entering all the values. So in real time, usually what will happen? So see success, right? So in the output file, that means like now there is like now we will create one more column called status. The status, if all the values has been entered, so in the status it is success, success, success. Failed means like now whenever we get an exception, failed in the status as failed, and there like now we will generate one more new column, like now reason for failed, why it was failed. So it will update in the failed column corresponding to the reason. So what is the reason it was failed? And we will generate the like no sorry, we will send that report to the customer or business to take further action against it. So this is the positive case. We will see negative case and how the retry work Cover Jimaki. So without queue, that means like now if the data is available in the table, how do you do that? So we'll see tomorrow. And at the same time, it is done. See, start process. Process finished due to no more transaction data for closing all applications. So application has been closed. Okay. So if you see that this output, see, okay. So how many transactions are there? There are 30 transactions, and it is, so like now get the transaction item and the transaction started, and the process transaction number is this one. Start the transaction, process it. See here, like now go and refresh it. See here, queue. There are how many items are there? This is the queue. So view transactions. See, all are get success. Okay, so 10 out of 30. For each and every page we'll have 10 rows. So first page 10, in the second page it is 20, third page is 30. All the 30 has been successfully processed. So this is how RE framework or for if the data is available in a queue. So tomorrow we'll see. So there is no queue. So what are the changes we have to make? That is also one of the very important in interview and in the real time as well. So there are two cases. One is without queue or with queue. So now just now we have seen with queue. We'll see without queue. Okay. So we'll continue tomorrow, friends. Thank you. So tomorrow I will tell you the time because I am traveling. So, but tomorrow definitely we'll have a session, but I'm not sure that at what time, whether we'll have a 6 o'clock or same time 8:30 or 5, not 5 o'clock. So we don't know. Okay. Thank you so much. వెనకాల కూర్చో